Right, so we're going to typically use the flex band and start introducing the flex band into different movements, which I will say, explaining to the boys the different movements needed to need strengthening. First of all, we're going to work on flexibility, then we're going to work on mobility and flexibility, and then we're going to work on stability in mobility, and then we're going to work on strength into your stability, and then last we're going to increase your stamina. So those are the 5 areas we want to develop. We want to develop flexibility, mobility, stability, and then strength, and then also your stamina. Okay, so typically what he was explaining to the boys is the different movements needed to be functional in the pool. So we want to use the flex band, we want to attach it to something where it's going to increase the free range of motion. You don't want to limit the movement. You want as most functional as possible as it simulates what's happening in the pool. Okay, so we're going to attach it to just an attachment. If you have the luxury of a piping system or something that you can just attach the band to that's not going to damage the product, and then also not limit the movement. So what you were doing is we were explaining also the different zones. You were saying the vertical zone, horizontal and rotational movement. It's all in one. When you're coming into the water, you're going to have to use vertical load, horizontal load, and rotational in one movement, and that's where the flex band is so beneficial. So we're going to attach it. So I'm just going to show us the rotator cuff movement needed to strengthen. So we're going to use a horizontal load for now, and you're just going to freely move. You can either use it as a warm-up or you can use it as a strengthening exercise. Should someone have a injury in this area, this is going to be a very key component where you're going to start at. You're first going to look at your flexibility in that movement, see if there's mobility in that flexibility, then see if there's stability, that it's not shaking or dysfunctional. It's got the full range of motion, and then we're going to develop strength in this movement, and then you're going to add load. As this load gets too light for the person, you're going to increase the load with a different band, okay? Or just add another band. You can just quickly double it up, okay? And now you can see it's a much higher load on that same movement, and now you're working on strength, okay? And if you keep doing this for quite some time, you're going to develop stamina in this area. Okay, so that covers the rotator cuff movement, but also he's not limited in his body positioning, because the function in the water is movement is rapid. It doesn't just apply to one set of rule of movement. It's more dynamic movement in the water as well, because the ball can come from any area. You're going to receive a ball, you're going to push the ball, but also you've got to jump for a ball, you've got to move the hip movements, but we'll get to that just now. Okay, so in that rotator cuff movement, he's going to now turn his body as he is throwing the ball, okay? So that he's going to demonstrate a throwing movement, so strengthening those throwing muscles that you need, okay? Just explaining to the boys what is the benefit of the rotation movement, having power in the rotation, okay? You want to increase the load. As you increase the load, you can increase the speed. When you increase the speed, the power is going to develop, okay? So it's not just a throwing, or a movement that you just do against gravity in air. Okay, this is actually adding a variable isotonic resistance, meaning the movement and the load changes as he lengthens the load. Okay, so as he pushes it to its furthest end, the load gets heavier. Okay, which in the water will never happen. Okay, from the moment he receives the ball and throws the ball, the weight stays the same. But with the band, the weight increases as he lengthens the band. Okay. So he's developing in range of motion. So as he would release the ball, his speed and power is at maximum. Okay, and also the risk of an injury in that movement, okay, is far less if you start developing the strength and speed and also stamina. Okay, wonderful. Now he's going to demonstrate a full arm movement, just strengthening. It could either be a warm-up, okay, or just stretching it, you know, just lengthening the muscle, okay, and then generally just, okay, so now it's not just the shoulder muscles, but also the pec muscles that also needs strengthening and developing. So this particular movement will definitely increase the size and the strength of your pecs, but also the stability and mobility in the rotator cuff and the shoulder girdle. Okay. Right. So now it's not just throwing but also receiving power. So when he's throwing the ball, he's releasing it, but also when he's recovering with the band, there is a receiving movement where you would receive a load onto the wrist, but also it's going to turn the rotator cuff as well. So this would simulate that movement. There it's a pushing movement, but also when he returns, he recovers, this is a receiving as he would receive a ball. Okay, so you have both on the rotational movement, but also concentric and eccentric load. You're recovering on strengthening on that movement as well. Okay, right. Now we can have some just normal strengthening movements where the arm is lengthened, grab onto the band, and you're just going to push. And because we want dynamic movement, you don't want to just limit the range. You want to use as much as possible movement. Okay, don't limit the movement, because in the water you never know, how you're going to receive the ball and release the ball. Okay, so in terms of swimming, you can just take both bands. So we've attached two flex bands. The one is going to be on that side, on the other side. Okay, so he's going to just do, pick warm-ups, but also engaging with the rhomboids, the scapula. Okay, and again, it's not just going to be limited to one movement. He's going to first start out just with a couple of reps, and then he's just going to look for areas to move freely. Okay, that's a perfect illustration of range of motion. Okay, you want full range of motion development. Okay, where most of your injuries occur is in the end range of motion load, where either receiving a ball or need to release a ball. Okay, and the power or the load is not efficient, and the injury occurs in either the shoulder, tricep, pec, elbow. Okay, and you were saying also, you were demonstrating about the flexion of the wrist. So just a normal movement like that, you can engage with the pecs, but also releasing a ball and receiving a ball, releasing and receiving. Okay, now if you would demonstrate some swimming movements, strengthening, it can either be your butterfly movements. Okay, if we were doing pulling movements, it's going to be, he's going to turn around, face the band. Okay, so spin around. Okay, so it's nice and relaxed. Okay, you just want to get that same movement as you were swimming. Okay, you can use this either as a warm-up or strengthening exercises and increasing stamina and power, working on power. Now you can both hands like in a butterfly, pull, push, pull, push. So he's going to push down, pull forward, push down, pull forward. Okay. Same as he would use the water to push himself out of the to project his body. You can use, obviously he's going to develop some leg power to push him out the water, but also when he's pulling, you can just project himself into a forward momentum. Perfect. Now he can do a bit of pulls.
Form is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in this movement, okay, technique is everything. Okay, what he was saying is that form is very important when it comes to this. When you're doing any exercise, focus on your breathing, focus on your positioning. Okay, make sure that it is as close as possible to the movement you're going to be doing in the pull. Okay. Okay, then you can do some flies. Okay, this is more pulling power exercise. Okay, so this is going to work on your lats, also on your scapular muscles. Okay, it's very important. Okay, not just to develop one side of the movement, but also see as many free range movements and develop those movements. Like I say, those 5 key elements: work on flexibility, mobility, stability, strength, and then stamina. Okay, super, perfect. Right. Okay, so we're also introducing the dynamic stabilizer, specifically for hip and power torque development, and also, like I say, those 5 areas. We're going to work on flexibility, mobility, stability, strength, and then stamina. Okay, so Solon's just going to wrap it around his feet.
Feet.
Yeah, both feet go around and then bring it all the way up to your knees. Okay, so you're going to work first on just on static movements, so just increasing the load. So if you were doing a squat stance, just increasing the load on the hips. He's just going to do activation, just normal squats, just up and down, just do a few reps. So you want to work on the form, you want to focus on getting the knees pushing out when you're doing a squat, and this little tool that we're going to add to the movement, make sure that you get the load on the hips. Okay, so when you're taking it down, you want to develop full range of motion, and then once you got the mobility there, now you want to see if there's stability. So once he's under load, you will now start moving with the knees. Okay, this would simulate a movement in the water, okay, where the power is not happening at the knee, it's happening all from the hip joint. Okay, so he would activate by using circular movements. Okay, this would simulate a load as if you were in the water. Okay, and you're not going to do a lot of reps of these. You're going to feel very quickly that the load on the hips is quite significant.
Yes.
Okay, and then you're going to start working on singular movements. Okay, we call them sumo squats. Okay, sumo lifts. So just increasing, the one side has to stabilize, the other side's got a load. And once again, we work on both movements, your abduction and adduction movements. Okay, so there's constant load, whether it's abducting or adducting. Okay, there's a constant load on the hip joint. Okay, and on those muscle groups as well.
Definitely feel it over here all the time, especially on my hips as well.
Yeah, so there's a constant load there. When it comes to the dynamic stabilizer, the movements needed for, you're going to do singular movements, just do small rotation and small circular movements with the legs. You'll definitely feel, we've given the little dynamic stabilizer a nickname. It's called the Filipino. For those who don't know who are the Filipinos, it's a little chilly. And someone will also tell you, you can feel the burn already. Doesn't take long for it to kick in.
Especially on my hips here, I'm feeling it a lot.
So we're working here, into a lot of stabilization, but now you want to increase plyometric movements. So now it's all your explosive movements. So from this position, you're just going to do little frog hops, okay? But he's going to remain in that stability position. He's not going to collapse under load. You can see if when he projects into the air that the load is there. This will help them when they're pushing in the water and they've got to generate power to get themselves out of the water, okay? To help them when they're kicking. This is all going to come from the hips. It's not the legs that generate the power, it's all in the hips. Okay, and then we're going to do some stabilizing movements under load, just stepping, okay? This is all to strengthen all the movements you need to project yourself out of the water and also kicking power. Okay, so what we're doing now is we're simulating some core exercises. Also needed, core is very important when it comes to water polo or any type of exercise movement. Your power and strength would come from your core. So we're going to develop also not just the hip kettle but also your abdominal area as well. Okay, so for starters we're doing bridging. So you're going to load onto the band, the knee's going to slightly open up. Okay, you're going to plant the feet. He's just going to push up with the pelvis as high as he can. Keep the load. He's going to breathe easy and exhale when he goes down. Inhale and then exhale up. Inhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Okay, so this is the first movement. Then you're going to hold. It's a static movement. So you're going to hold it under pressure for a couple of seconds. Okay, once you've done that, you're going to combine the two together. So you're going to go up, hold for a couple of seconds, drop down. Bring it up, hold for a couple of seconds, drop down. Okay, next movement, you're going to bring it up, hold, open up the knees as far as you can, release, bring it down again. Up, open up the knees, close it down, bring it down. Up, open, close. Okay, then you're going to do the next one, bring it up, open it up, hold. Okay, now you're going to hold for a couple of seconds, maybe start developing it from 10 to 20 seconds, maximum 30 to a minute. Okay, you won't hold it for more than a minute. Okay, you're developing core muscle strength, but also you can feel now the glute muscles groups is fatiguing very fast and you come. Okay, small movements where you're going to release from the floor. You're going to do first open up scissors. Okay, so we're going to do some scissor movements. It's going to be different when you place the band lower. Lower is going to be when you put the band over his ankles. There's going to be a higher load on the knee, which is not very safe to do. We want to develop first on the hip strength, so he's going to have it around the knees and he's just going to open up and close, open up and close. Do a couple of those. Okay, then we're going to have a hold position. Okay, and this is called the turtle hold. He's going to open up his hands. Okay, and now he's just going to bring the shoulders up, lift it from the floor, and he's going to hold there. This is called the turtle hold. Okay, and what happens to a turtle when he's on his back? He dies. Okay, so this movement will explain to you why it feels like a turtle on his back. Okay, right. So next movement, you're going to do flutter kicks. For the flutter kicks, you want to develop the hip flexor muscles. Okay, under load, and he's just going to do a lot of flutter kicks. Okay, up and down. It's not going to be too many reps of these as the hip flexors fatigue very quickly with this. But this is you're going to use for strengthening. Okay, now you're going to keep the load. Again, move it to slightly higher to the knee. And now you're going to work on circular movements as if he's in the pool and he's doing circular movements. Okay, you'll find that this is very similar to doing a lot of circular movements in the water with the legs. Okay, Perfect. Super. Right. Thanks. Great stuff. Perfect. So those are a couple of things that we can introduce with the group. Okay.
Perfect.
Let's go to put it on a regular basis.
Thank you so much for this.
Thank
Yeah.
you. That's awesome.